don't forget your pedaling. This is something that actually all students forget, but it is something that has such a big impact on your playing. So let's take a look today at pedaling. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is how to change pedal. What is the proper technique? Because the problem is that everybody instinctively changes pedal wrong. So take a look. I have here in front of me a Chopin Nocturne in E minor. Here, I want to change here. Halfway through the bar, right? And we'll discuss when to change it in a minute. But let's first check how to change it. So here is where we're going to change, right? What I'm going to do is, right, I'm first going to play the note and then I'm going to change the pedal. So I'm showing you this now in slow motion, but in reality it's going to be so quick, so quickly after you play the note. It seems almost simultaneous. It seems, but it's not. It's not simultaneous. It's exactly a tiny bit after. You first play the note, and then you make the change. What does everybody, including myself when I first learned pedal, what does everybody do wrong? Everybody changes it instinctively before. Then you get a gap. So everybody changes it before. That's wrong. Then a lot of people change it simultaneously. In some cases, you can't even perceive that it's wrong, but there's a lot of cases when that's going to get you in trouble. So the actual proper technique is first the next note and then the change. So first the note, then the foot. And as I said, if you do it very slowly, it's going to sound like you have dirty pedal, right? Like you have a bad change. So the idea is to do that quickly. First the note, then the foot. First the note. So that is the proper technique. Now, when I say you have to do it quickly, of course everybody's going to want to try to do it quickly from the start, right? But that's just not how it works. You have to build it. I did it for so long. Every time I studied a piece, I did it slowly. So I did it exaggerated. First the note, then the foot. Very consciously. The more conscious you do it, the better it's going to get into your system and the better you're going to do it automatically. That's what you want. You want to do it a couple of times very thoroughly, very consciously, so that you program your automatic pilot to correctly, right? So you program it with the proper technique. Before we continue, I wanted to tell you about this new project that Dimitar and I launched. We're actually very excited about it. It has a lot of pedal in it. Dimitar composed this really, really relaxing piano pieces specifically designed for relaxation and also for sleep. It's a Spotify playlist and I'm gonna link that down for you below. And if that seems like something you would enjoy, then please check it out and let us know what you think. Okay, let's continue. So now, question number 2, of course, when do you change pedal? So you always change pedal in 2 ways. The first is harmonies. That's by far the most common. If the harmony changes, you have to change pedal. Unless you want to create some very specific effect, you have to change pedal. So when the harmony changes, right, you have... Here goes to a different harmony. If I don't change pedal, it goes to a different harmony again. It's going to sound like one big mess. So every time the harmony changes, you have to change pedal. The second reason would be the melody. So whenever you have a melody, for example, in this bar, you have here in the melody. So you have the melody, you have thirds going down, right? You don't want that in one pedal. So whenever you have the melody being very active, and especially I would say seconds being the neighboring note, you generally don't want that in one pedal. And then those 2 things considered, you would also want to consider the style of what you're playing in. For example, if you're playing a sonata by Mozart, you generally would want to use less pedal there than if you're playing a nocturne by Chopin. Romantic pieces, generally, we use a lot more pedal because it fits the style. So whenever you have, for example, For example, that's one harmony, right? If you take this sonata by Mozart. But flooded in pedal like that, it doesn't sound very much like Mozart. You would more do something like... For example, what I did now is pedal on the long notes. Or if you want pedal on every note, at least make sure you change. Sounds a lot better than... That just doesn't sound like Mozart. It doesn't fit the style. So that would be something else to consider. It's far more common to have one whole pedal for a romantic piece per bar if the harmony doesn't change than in Mozart. And the same goes for, I just mentioned, when you have a very busy melody, right? You wouldn't want to have one pedal there. You would more get away with that with romantic music than with classical music. For example, in this sonata by Mozart, right? You have, what was it again? So you wouldn't play this, or at least if you do it, don't do that. But in romantic music, you might have, for example, let's see what further along here. There's lots of passages where I would keep one pedal and then you have neighboring notes in one pedal and it actually sounds good. That's all one pedal now and that sounded pretty good. That's also all one pedal, despite the fact that you're having this passage with neighboring notes. It actually sounds good because it's romantic music. I think the last thing to consider is that pedal has such a big influence on your interpretation. It can make the piece sound completely different. You were probably already hearing that when I was playing Mozart. It sounds so different whether I'm putting only pedal on the long note. It sounds much more crispy and energetic if I put one pedal on the bar. It sounds very romantic, obviously. Or if I change on the melodic notes. These are three different interpretations. And that is what pedaling does. When done properly, it's going to really add a lot to your interpretation. It's going to really make you able to express yourself better. An exercise I like to give my students is to start off with 0 pedal and then to start adding. So starting off with 0 pedal and then to start adding makes you think a lot better about why you're doing pedal where than if you start with standard everywhere pedal. When you start with everywhere pedal, your ears also get used to and so on. But when you start with 0 pedal, it really forces you to think, where do I really need pedal? Why? And what does it change? Like, how does the sound change when I go from no pedal to pedaling? That will teach you a lot about pedaling. I hope this was useful to you. Don't forget that we have a playlist, a piano playlist with Dimitar's pieces on it, but also some famous classical pieces, some modern classical pieces that we handpicked. So feel free to check that out. I'll add it in the description box. You can also check Dimitar's music out on YouTube if you don't have Spotify. I'll put that for you over here. And yes, the sheet music is also available. I'll link that for you down in the description box because we get that question a lot. Thank you so much. I really hope that you're gonna work on your pedaling. Let me know in the comments and we'll see you next week.